I'm going to be making this macrame design, and it's part of a larger quilt that I'm making, and this is going to be sewn into it. But you can see it has 6 stripes, and each one of them has 3 diamonds with macrame cord in different colors. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to use this macrame board, which is really helpful in keeping things, in helping you measure and keeping everything straight. So the first thing you need to do is to set up a cord that's going to hold all the other cords at the top of the board. You just sort of push it into the notches, and I like to tie it on because it keeps it a little bit more firm than just pushing it into the notches. Okay, so there's the board, and this design, as you can see here, this is 4.5 inches tall. And earlier I did a test and I found that I need twice as much cord per strip as the length of this section. So I'm going to need 9-inch cords, and then you don't want to wind up with like nothing to work with at the end. So you give yourself a little bit more. I'm going to give myself an extra 5 inches, which is 14 inches. And it so happens that this board is 14 inches. So I'm going to start with the orange, and I'm going to cut myself 11 strips of the cord. So here, this design has 11 cords. So there's the middle one that's going to open up and it's going to make these diamonds. And then you have 5 on either side, 5 pairs on either side. Each one is a strand that's folded over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I need 10 and 1 in the middle, and the middle one is going to be a little bit longer than the others. So to do that, I take the first strand, measure 14 inches, fold it over, and then cut it. Now once I have the first one, I can do the other ones faster. You can just cut each one, but so use this one as a template, and then instead of cutting it here, I just fold this over and do it again. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I have 10. Now the last one needs to be a little bit longer, so I'm just going to measure the same amount and then just cut it a little extra. Okay, and then I go back and I cut these strands. Okay, so that's my first set. And now I'm going to go and do all the rest of them. So now I have all 6 of the colors all cut up, and I'm going to start putting them on the cord. Okay, so starting with the orange. So you take the cord and you just make it roughly half, not worrying too much about it. So now you're going to put it under and then open it up and then pull through the cords. Now go to the ends and now make sure that they're lined up perfectly, or as best you can, and then pull through and then pull tight. Okay, so let me zoom in so you can really see what that looks like. I stick it under, whoops, stick it under, open it up, pull through, and now check to see that they're lined up, and then pull through. And that's what it looks like. So you can actually do it either way. You could also go over if you wanted to, and then it will look like this. Either is fine, it's whatever you prefer, but whichever way you do it the same through all of it. You don't really want to have some of one and some of another. So I prefer this under method, so that's what I'm going to do. This. Okay, so now I have 5 of them, and now I want to put that middle strand in. So I want to find the really long one. I think it's this one. And put that one in. Yes. Okay, so this is the middle one that's longer. And then I continue on and do the rest of them. Now I have 5, 1, 5. And in this design, each strand is 2 inches wide. So I'm going to set this up so that it's now, I'm going to start at the 1, and then make sure that this middle one is at the 2, and then the other are spread out so that it goes from 1 to 3, and now I have my first inch. And then what I like to do is use thumbtacks, and in the middle one, which I think is the middle one, yeah, I'm gonna tack that down so it'll stay, and you'll see how as I go, it helps to have that. So now I'm gonna go do all the rest of them. Okay, so now I've set up all of the strings, 11 each with the long one in the middle. And now I'm gonna start making the design here. And just again, so the middle section is gonna open up and then come back in again, but we're only gonna just start with this for now. So each of these diamonds, as I said before, is 2 inches wide, and the bottom is 1.5 inches down, which is 3 of these lines. So I'm going to set this up so that I'm going to hit this mark. And the way that I do that is I take the middle cord, and as I said, I want this cord to go out to 1.5, to 1 across here to the end, and then 1.5 across here. So this is where I want this one to wind up. So I put that there, and then this board has these notches. And so in this case, I can just shove it in there. And now I can see that if I follow this line, I'm going to wind up at about 1/2 here. Okay, so I start with that, and now I'm going to work my way from the middle piece, and I'm going to take this out for now so you can really see, just working on the left side now. And I'm going to start with the one that's closest to that center. And the way you do this is you take the string, you loop it over and then under the lead string, the holding string, pull it through, and then make sure that it covers, that it goes on top of the beginning of the string. So you're making this loop that should look like that. And then you pull it tight all the way to the end, so it looks like that. And then you do it again. Everything is done in 2s. So I'm going to loop it around, and then pull it up through, make sure you're going in that loop, and pull it tight. Okay, so that's what it should look like when you get a double, when you're done with a stitch. So that's 2 of them, and then the string is coming out through the middle of it. And I'm respecting this line. I'm making sure that I'm staying on that angle. So let me do that again, and I'll show you that in practice, you don't really take the end of it. So you lift this up a little bit, you loop this under, you can push it through with your finger, and then pull that through. Again, make sure you have that loop, and then pull it tight all the way to the end, and then do it again, and pull it tight. Okay, I just want to show you, if you get that wrong, and you just don't put it through the loop, and just kind of like hook it around without going through, it looks like that. It'll look like this, which is not what you want. And so you can just recover. You can just put it through, and then pull it in, and do 1, and then another. And again, I'm checking to make sure that I'm sort of staying on this line. I'm just going to work my way down. Ready? Make sure you're getting the next string every time. And sometimes you will screw up and you'll figure it out, and I'm sure I will too, and then you can always recover. One nice thing about macrame, you just hope that you notice it soon after you make the mistake so you don't have to undo a lot. Okay, so now I'm checking, I'm coming in, I should be sort of aiming to finish up at that 1 inch mark, which is doing pretty well. And there, like I'm not so happy with how tight that was, so I'm just going to go and pull it tighter on the first one. Okay, so here I am. So now I've done my little thing, maybe slightly lower than where I want it to be, not bad. So that's one side, and now I'm going to put this back again, back up here, and now I'm going to do the other side. And in general, it's a good idea to just sort of like clear away all the rest of the stuff. And in this case, so again, make sure that you've got the other part of that middle piece. And again, I'm going to line it up so that it's going to hit the 3-inch mark at about halfway. Now, I don't really have enough room. This is too far to go all the way over here. So what I do is I use these thumbtacks and I just make a loop. Just loop it through and pull it through. This is going to make it easy to undo it later. And so now I aim it so that it's going to go there and then just stick it in. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to do the same thing, but in the opposite way. So I'll move this just for now, but I'm going to start with the very first one again. And now again, I go over the top, I come under, and I go inside that loop that I've just made. Make sure that you cut into the loop, and do it again, come around, go inside the loop, and pull tight. And now I'm going to put this back up so that I can go down the list again. So now I'm just going to work my way down. And I'm going to keep that down. Okay, so now I did pretty well. So now this, there it goes, and it's pretty even. It's going to the right place. Okay, so now I'm going to start the next row, or the next section. Pull these down. Okay, so I grab this middle piece, and I'm going to want to hit that same spot. These two are going to come together. So I'm going to hold that there, and then hook it in. That holds it tight. Move these guys out of the way for now. Again, I'm going to just double check. Yeah, so that's the other half. That's the piece that's going to go there. So don't start with that. But start here and work your way down. And again, I'm sort of aiming to make sure that I wind up here. And this guy's looking like it's coming in a little bit long. So I'm pulling that back. Okay, so now these two come together. And at this point, you're going to make a knot to connect the two. You can use either one. You can go this one under there, in which case you'll see the orange, or you can go the blue under the orange, and in which case you'll see the blue. And this doesn't really matter here because they're adjacent, so I'm just going to pick this one to show you. So I'm going to connect the two by doing just a regular stitch, just like the other ones I've been doing here. And now they're connected, and you can see the orange. If I had done it with the blue, you would have seen a blue knot going this way. Okay, and then later this becomes important because I'm going to choose colors that contrast with what I've been doing. Okay, make sure that you're getting the other piece. Here it is. These go under. That's really important. I didn't say that before. This cord goes over those, and I'm going to over the working cords. And then I want this to wind up here, so I'm going to make my knot and pull it tight there. Okay. Okay, so I can see already that I've made a mistake here. So I grabbed the wrong one. So I can see that because this is sort of coming across in a way that it shouldn't. Okay, so what you do is you bring this thing up and sort of slide your stitches off again. And this is, with hemp in particular, it tends to fray if you sort of pick at it too much. So it's best to So I'm just pulling it through. Actually, well, in this case, I'm undoing it, which is not as good. But I have to go back 2 stitches in here. This is better to do it this way. If you can just kind of pull it through, it does less damage to the cord. Okay, so somehow I got myself all tangled up. And so now I've got the right one. And that was good because I caught it right away. I could just undo it easily. Okay, so now those match up nicely, and then I'm just going to use this one because it's here. And just make the same stitch. So there. Ah, okay. So I've already made another mistake. So I think I started with the other part of that thing, which is not what I wanted. Okay, so one I like to use, I have this, sometimes I might be able to pull this stitch out. I don't know, I might not, but if I pull it from the back and get the second stitch first, do that. Is it? Yeah, shouldn't have started with that. That was the other half. So that's another mistake that I just made for your benefit. In that case, I was able to just take it out. It often, usually you end up having to take out a whole bunch. Okay, so here I can see that I'm not really going to hit. I'm sort of angling this way. So I think this last stitch, I just need to loosen up a little bit, make sure that I'm going down, and I can tighten it up. Okay, and I can see here that I haven't done the second one because this is in the middle of those two. So that's the first, and then I see that's the second. And, okay, so now I'm pretty well hitting that mark. Okay, so now I've just done the whole first row, and now the next step is going to be to make these, the second part of the diamonds, this way. Okay, so now to make this turn, now we're going to want to make these diamonds here. So you leave this piece where it is, and you pick up this first one here. This is going to make the other diamond. This one you're going to come back to later. And I left this here because, as I said, I want this to be 3 lines down, 1.5 inches. So that guy hits that right there, and I want this one to intersect it. And I'm going to do the thing of using a thumbtack to keep this in place. And this also helps keeping this pulled back here. So some of this is working with figuring out what tension you need there. So that this should now hit right there. And now it's a good idea to separate out the ones you're going to be using and just take out the ones that you're not. Later they're going to have to come back, but oops, that guy there. And I can see that I actually have one of these is actually part of this. So you want to get all that straight, and these are all part of that. So this is important. Okay, and now these cords have to be underneath the one you're going to put it on, but over anything else that's in the way. So now I'm going to start at this end and make my way back down to here. And again, I'm just doing the same thing I've been doing, making a loop and making another loop. So I think if I look where this is going, I think I was pulling down too much. So I'm gonna loosen this a little, both of these, and pull tighter. There's no, so I think I lost my thing there. Okay. I need to put, these guys need to go under the blue. Okay, so notice that it's the blue strip, the blue strand that came from here that's just going to keep going. Okay, so now you're wrapping around a blue. And I'm going to put this back just so that there's some tension. Just the more you can sort of keep it set where you want it to wind up, the more likely it'll wind up that way. Okay, so now here, like I had said earlier, you can do either way. You can put, either one can be the stitch that you do to connect them. I'm going to connect these two, but I want the blue to show just because I like the contrast. I like the way that that looks. So I'm going to use the blue one, and I'm going to get this nice contrast, although again I didn't get it quite tight enough. So I'm going to pull it a little more. Okay, so now I have this nice blue contrast. And you can see on this one how, you know, I use these different colors at the corners just to make it more interesting. So that's one row of diamonds across, and then I'm going to do two more. So here, now when I'm starting, I'm going to pick up this blue thing that string that came from there, and it's just going to keep on going. And again, so I want to go, so this came in at the one, at half, 1, 2, 3, so at the half mark there. So I'm aiming for there. And this is the piece that's going to keep going across. So when I get to the end of this one, now I have this piece. And this is going to come around. I'm going to release this and bring it under. And this is now going to become the 10th piece. There. And now this is going to that's going to happen to this next one. This one's also going to come around for this next bit. But okay, we'll get there. And now we pick up the piece that was going there, and that's going to go across and meet up with this guy right there. I'm going to continue the cord that's coming here, and I want it to wind up at here, half, basically 3 slots on the last one. And here, I'm going to use this blue one. It's going to be the last one. So now we're actually getting the blue strip from, the blue strip that came from here is now going to come around, and it's going to become part of this, which I think is actually kind of cool, to get this little bit of color on the side, just like you're getting little bits of color in the intersections. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I like it, and it sort of responds to that. Okay, so I just discovered that I made a mistake back up here. So maybe you can see that this strand started on this side, but then I put it on this side, and it really should have been here. And I'm noticing this because it seems like, geez, there's an awful lot of these. I still have 2 to go, and I'm already at this line here. So maybe I have too many, And sure enough, I have 11 here instead of 10. So I go back here and I'm seeing, oh, I have 11 here and 9 here. So this is where, and I went all further back, but okay, so this is where I made the mistake. I think I'm gonna do the right thing and I'm gonna undo this. And again, the way you wanna sort of keep everything, you don't wanna fray anything. So you don't wanna be picking at stuff. So it's better to just sort of pull this through, and then these don't get frayed. It gets harder when you get closer to the knot. There's less room to pull. But okay, I'm able to do it here. Seems like a lot, but I'd rather get it right. So I only have to undo this one, and then I have to pull this through, and usually it takes, I do it in a couple of batches. I'm trying to do it all in one, so it's harder to do it without fraying anything. And, you know, sure enough, I am fraying a little bit, but at least this is the part where it's inside. You know, it's being used to hold the other knots, so it's not going to be as visible. But that's the danger in working with hemp. Okay, so I'm back here, and this is where the mistake is, so I only really need to undo this guy. I just have to move this one over to the other side, so I just have to take this part, this last stitch out. And move it onto this side. And this got all bunched because I had too many. So I'm just going to spread it out a little bit, but not have the green show. Okay, so now this should line up pretty well. Yeah, and now I'm going to do the green here. Put this back, and now I have to go back through and just make this both sides again. But okay, not that much damage done. But again, you can see how, you know, the sooner you figure it out, the better it is. So, and that's why it's useful. It's just sort of, again, keep track, it's sort of notice, gee, am I hitting that corner or that, the junction point at about the right point, or do I have too many? It just seems like I have too many or too few strands to do it. All right, so there it is. And it's just like the other one.